The annual Thompson family dinner was in full swing at Uncle Robert's palatial estate. Crystal glasses clinked, designer fabrics whispered with every self-important shift in posture. Laughter laced with thinly veiled competition floated through the chandelier-lit dining room. Everyone was busy recounting triumphs, except me, seated in my usual place at the far end of the table, quietly observing. Victoria just made junior partner, Aunt Patricia announced with pride, smiling dotingly at her daughter, top of her class at Harvard Law, remember? I took a slow sip of wine, suppressing a smile. Victoria had barely scraped past the bar, on her third try, no less. She'd never know I'd quietly covered her exam fees through a shell company buried under layers of ownership. And James, Uncle Robert chimed in, his startup just secured another $10 million in funding. I nodded politely. James didn't know the money had come from Horizon Ventures, one of my firms, not that he'd ever asked who controlled the board. Then came the inevitable. What about you, Sarah? Uncle Robert turned his attention to me, his tone coated with mock concern. Still doing that office management thing? The table hushed, every fork stilled. The family's favorite failure had been summoned. I took another sip. If only they knew that office management meant overseeing Atlas Industries, the conglomerate quietly propping up half the companies represented at this very table. Something like that, I said mildly. You know, Aunt Patricia added, there's an opening for a receptionist at Robert's company. We'd be happy to put in a word. I almost laughed. Robert's company had been under Atlas's umbrella for 3 years. His signature was a line item on my monthly reports. That's very kind, I said, but I'm quite happy where I am. Uncle Robert scoffed. Happy? Sarah, you need to think about your future. Just look at Victoria and James. They're building something of value. What will you have to show for yourself? I glanced at my watch, a Patek Philippe he wouldn't recognize if it hit him. It had cost more than his last quarterly bonus. She's just wasting her potential, Victoria murmured to James, loud enough for the table. My phone buzzed. A message from my CFO, quarterly reports are in, profits up 40%, executive bonuses pending your approval. I typed back, hold all bonus approvals for subsidiary executives, especially Thompson Technologies. Uncle Robert was still talking. It's not too late, you know, James could use an assistant at his company. I reached for my briefcase. Funny you should bring that up. I've actually been meaning to talk business. James smirked. Business? You? I opened the case and pulled out a folder of documents, placing them neatly on the table. Uncle Robert, how's the Pacific Corp merger coming along? He blinked. How do you know about that? I make it my business to know what all our subsidiaries are up to, I said, sliding the first document toward him, especially when they start negotiating without board authorization. Subsidiaries? Aunt Patricia frowned. What are you talking about? Atlas Industries, I said, parent company to Thompson Technologies, Victoria's law firm, and the VC firm backing James's startup. Silence dropped like a curtain. That's not possible, Robert stammered. Atlas is owned by some faceless investor, no one knows who. No one, I agreed, except family. I passed the rest of the documents down the table. You never recognized me at shareholder meetings, probably too busy ignoring the help. Victoria snatched a sheet and scanned it, her face draining. These are payroll ledgers, executive compensation, stock options. All authorized by Atlas's CEO. I said, would you like to guess who that is? James's Scotch glass slipped from his fingers and shattered on the marble floor. You're lying, he said, but his voice cracked. I just smiled and took another sip of wine. I pulled out my phone and opened my banking app, the glow of the screen illuminating my face as I glanced at Uncle Robert. Would you like to see the transaction records, the acquisition paperwork, the venture capital transfers? I paused, letting the silence grow. Or perhaps just your quarterly performance reviews, the ones where I note your consistent mediocrity. The color drained from Uncle Robert's face as he looked down at the confidential documents now spread across the table. But you're worthless, he stammered, his voice cracking. Am I? I smiled, sliding one last document toward him. Check the signature on your last paycheck. Uncle Robert, tell me what you see. His hands shook as he picked up the payroll statement, and his eyes widened in disbelief. There, at the bottom, was my signature, the one he'd dismissed as childish scribbling just a year ago. This can't be real, he whispered, his voice faltering. You're just what? I asked quietly. Just the family failure? Just the one who couldn't measure up to Victoria's law career or James's startup? I motioned to the scattered documents, the weight of them settling on the table like an indictment. Funny how perspective changes when you finally see the full picture. My phone buzzed again. A message from my executive assistant. Thomson Technologies board meeting tomorrow. Should I add the performance review to the agenda? I typed back, yes, and prepare the restructuring documents. We'll need a few management changes. Victoria, her eyes now wide with panic, was frantically scrolling through her phone. Atlas Industries, major acquisitions, corporate structure, oh my god. Finding something interesting? I asked, like how your law firm's merger last year was actually a hostile takeover by Atlas, or how your junior partner position exists only because I created it. She stammered, you're behind all of this. Not everything, I corrected her, just the parts that keep you all employed. Those 3 failed bar exams. Atlas picked up the tab. James's startup funding, my venture capital firm, Uncle Robert's company staying afloat during the pandemic, that was a capital injection from Atlas. James slumped back in his chair, his face ashen. The $10 million in funding, I continued, voice smooth as silk, that was a test you're failing spectacularly. Your burn rate is unsustainable, product development is months behind schedule, and as for your management style, I clicked my tongue in disapproval. Let's just say your performance review tomorrow is going to be a real eye-opener. Tomorrow? James squeaked. Oh yes, I said with a smile. Did I forget to mention? Atlas is reviewing all of its venture capital investments. Underperforming startups, their funding will be discontinued. Aunt Patricia finally found her voice. But why? Why let us go on thinking? Thinking I was worthless? I laughed, my voice cutting through the tension. Because watching all of you scramble to prove your success while secretly depending on my company has been educational. Victoria bragging about her career while I approved her salary. James boasting about his startup while begging my VC firm for extensions. My phone buzzed again. Board of Directors quarterly review tomorrow. Subsidiary performance reports ready for your signature. Perfect timing, I typed back. Add a special agenda item, management restructuring at Thomson Technologies. Uncle Robert shifted uneasily in his seat, sensing something was off in my demeanor. Sarah, about what I said earlier, about you being worthless. I smiled. Don't worry, Uncle Robert, your performance review tomorrow will reflect exactly how much I valued that comment. He paled, his breath shallow. Performance review? He echoed. Did you really think those merger talks with Pacific Corp would go unnoticed? I shook my head. Trying to sell company assets without board approval? That's the kind of thing that gets CEOs fired. Victoria leaned forward, her voice trembling. Sarah, be reasonable, we're family. Family? I raised an eyebrow. Was it family when you mocked my career choices, when you excluded me from your law firm celebrations, when you treated me like I was beneath all of you? My phone buzzed again. Human Resources, management termination papers ready for your review. Speaking of family, I continued, my voice low and cold. Let's talk about tomorrow's board meeting. I looked around the table, each face now marked by a mixture of fear and disbelief. Uncle Robert, I said, clear your schedule. James, prepare a detailed explanation of your startup's burn rate. Victoria, your law firm's partnership structure is up for reorganization. The only sound in the room was the faint clink of melting ice in untouched glasses. You can't do this, Uncle Robert said, voice thin. The shareholders. I am the majority shareholder, I replied coolly. Atlas Industries holds controlling interest in every company represented at this table, including, as of this morning, Pacific Corp. So that merger you were brokering, cancelled. James shot to his feet. I'll find other investors. With what reputation? I asked, almost kindly. Your only successful funding rounds came from my firm. After tomorrow's performance review, even the most desperate angel investor wouldn't touch you. Victoria, ever the lawyer, was doing the math in her head. The bar exam fees, the partnership promotion, that was all you. Every last bit, I confirmed. Every milestone you've paraded around as your own success was bankrolled by the worthless cousin you never took seriously. My phone buzzed again, a notification from the bank. Confirmation required, suspend executive compensation, Thomson Technologies. Confirm, I typed back, effective immediately. I looked up at them, faces pale, pride unraveling. The irony? I said, If any of you had bothered to read a financial journal, attend an industry event, or simply treated me like a human being, you might have seen this coming. Atlas Industries isn't exactly shy about its acquisitions. Uncle Robert was still staring blankly at his payroll stub. All this time, he muttered. All this time, I echoed, while you laughed at my job title and pitted my wasted potential, I was signing your paychecks. Another buzz. Security, Thomson Technologies access cards deactivated, per request. Oh, and Uncle Robert, I added as I gathered my briefcase, no need to head into the office tomorrow, your access has been revoked. The board meeting will be virtual, and you'll be attending as an observer. Observer? He choked. You'll be in the audience, I clarified, alongside the other soon-to-be former executives. Victoria leaned forward, her voice tight. This is corporate sabotage. We could sue. With what lawyers? I smiled. Your firm works for me, every partner, every associate, but do hire outside counsel, though you might want to clean up some of those creative billing practices first. James buried his head in his hands. Oh, and your startup? I continued. Expect an audit. Those expense reports full of 5-star hotels and first-class flights. We'll be reviewing those line by line. I stood, smoothing the hem of my Chanel dress. They probably assumed it was a knockoff. This has been illuminating, I said lightly, but tomorrow's a big day, firing incompetent executives, gutting underperforming companies, cutting wasted investments, you know, worthless work like that. Sarah, please, Aunt Patricia tried, her voice thin with panic, let's just talk this through. Talk? I laughed. After 10 years of being dismissed, mocked, and ignored, you had your chance. I'm done explaining myself to people who never listened. My phone chimed again, meeting notifications populating my calendar. 9 a.m., Thomson Technologies, Management Restructuring. 11 a.m., Venture Capital Portfolio, Funding Terminations. 2 p.m., Law Firm, Partnership Review. 4 p.m., Exit Interviews. A satisfying schedule, nothing like a full day of corporate housekeeping to clear out the rot. I paused at the door, turning back one last time. Oh, and Victoria, James, those bonuses you were expecting, I've redirected the funds to a new scholarship program, for worthless employees who actually earn their success. Behind me, silence, the stunned kind that follows a shattered illusion. Sometimes the best revenge isn't proving them wrong. It's reminding them exactly how much they owe the person they always look down on. See you all tomorrow. And don't be late. The new CEO values punctuality.